Hillbrow has always been a mirror, reflecting the changes occurring in our society in a microcosmic environment. In 1972, Hillbrow was buzzing. Students, artists, hippies and suburbanites flocked to the coffee bars, bookshops and nightclubs. In a tiny flat above, a revolution was about to take place, led unexpectedly by a rabbi and rebbitzin.
Hillbrow at night was vibey. The exclusive books was in Hillbrow, the clubs were in Hillbrow.
It was like on the 20th floor of where Cafe Vienne was, and Mi Va Mi. And in fact, I remember the flat next door was rented, I think, by some prostitute or some women who were, and all these young people were flocking to Chabad House, and her door was also open.
So he started walking in Hillbrow and he's saying, going up to people and saying, "Are you Jewish?"
He goes, "Let me buy you a cup of coffee." And he said, "Well, come over for Shabbos." And eventually they were out, they'd outgrown their little flat because there were like 20 people sleeping on the floor.
You know, as a young student, I knock at the door of the house and this incredibly good-looking young woman opens the door. And so I said, "Hello, is this Rabbi Lipska's house?" Because I thought maybe this is the wrong place. So she said, "No, I'm Mashi Lipska. I'm Rabbi Lipska's wife."
Two momentous events happened in South Africa in 1972. Rabbi Mendel and rebbitzin Mashi Lipska arrived in Johannesburg, and I was now attending the Mina Lapata Hebrew Nursery School. Only one of these events was to revolutionize the Jewish community.
The Rebbe had a vision for the world that every single Jewish person had to be brought back home to his roots. And we grew up in an environment where your ambition was to be a shliach of the Rebbe. He gave you the power, the privilege to go out and build and develop communities. And when he chose us to go to South Africa, this was an extraordinary moment for Mashi and myself.
That he actually pointed out to us, this is where you will grow and reach your potential.
There has never been an event in Jewish history, from planning a wedding to a complex Torah discourse, that has not caused debate, ribble, argument and joy within segments of the community. There was no reason that the arrival of the Lipskas should be any different.
You had to be a rabbi of a congregation, whether a Hazar congregation or a Hazar congregation, but a rabbi of a congregation to get recognition and status from the community. So we made an arrangement with the Hasidim congregation on Harrow Road. They didn't have a rabbi there.
I was in matric, it was 1972, and they suddenly brought in this young rabbi and his wife, the Lipskas. They knew what was going on in the world. They dressed like we did. Mashi had a guitar, she played her guitar and sang.
I was newly married, newly pregnant. My life was new, my name was new, my identity was new.
One thing Mendel had, there was a tremendous energy in that shul. He took a shul in Yeovil that before he got here, was a bunch of old guys going there. I think the youngest guy was 70, and he came with a new life.
Hasidic prayer has always been a joyous experience. The music, the excitement, the clapping, the dancing, this is something which is very much part of divine worship.
I mean, we were kids. Mendel was 23, I was 22. We were kids, but we came empowered.
They brought a newness to the Judaism that we didn't know about.
They were impressed with my shaitel. Oh, to them it was the nicest shaitel. Their experience with rebbitzins had been that they were elderly and they weren't necessarily so accessible. And here was someone maybe that they could relate to a bit more. When the students came and saw me, so the unmarried male students would think, oh, so that's who an observant Jewish man would marry. Okay, that's not so bad. You know, I was a bit of a show and tell.
So it was a breath of fresh air to see something that was totally modern, totally with it. And you could talk on any kind of level. And, you know, when you asked your questions, they were just, both of them were answered with this incredible intelligence.
It was a learning curve all the time, and we didn't always please all the people.
And here was somebody who was very different, very fiery, you know, and sort of when he started changing things in the shul, I think there was resistance, but over time he certainly won over the congregants.
First Friday night in shul, one of the old guys said, like, who's this young, maybe he said whippersnapper. I think the guy said, who's this young snot-nose, and what does he think he knows?
There wasn't real opposition, but there was a bit of skepticism. What do we need this for? We have a wonderful community.
Within about a year, that shul was absolutely packed, that you had to actually have standing room there. An immensely charismatic man.
The almost total annihilation of the European Jews through pogroms and the Holocaust had a profound effect on world Jewry. The communities of Jews that existed in the West, either prior to or as survivors of these cataclysmic events, were largely divided into two camps, non-religious in one camp and observant in the other.
I think that the early generations of teachers and rabbis who were transplanted from Eastern Europe were people who were so, I think, overwhelmed by the newness, the barrenness, the lack of Jewishness and Jewish spirituality in the New World countries.